Assalamualaikum class. I hope that you all are safe. Our last lecture was about listening comprehension. We discussed about the listening comprehension, that why it's important, and we also discussed about the policies about listening, and we have discussed the difference between hearing and listening. And we also talked about effective listening skills. So today the topic of our lecture is listening skills. So listening is the most important communication skill. We probably spend more time using our listening skills than any other kind of skill. So like other skills, listening takes practice. Real listening is an active process. Listening requires attention. So hearing, you can say, is the physical ability, while listening is a skill. So listening skills allow one to make sense of and understand what another person is saying. Or you can say, in other words, listening skills allow people to understand what someone is talking about, the meaning behind the words. So that good listening skills make others more productive. And if you will talk about any workplace, so the ability to listen carefully allows workers to better understand their assignments, the assignments they are given. Plus, they are able to understand what is expected of them by their management. Plus, the ability to listen and to comprehend also develop good relationship between the people. You can say, if you are in any company or any place you are working, so it will develop good relationship between the managers, between the clients, employees, and the people who are working together. Effective listening. Effective listening is a process of analyzing sounds, organizing them into recognizable patterns, interpreting the patterns, and understanding the message by inferring the meaning. Many of the problems we experience with people in our daily lives are primarily attributable to ineffective listening or lack of listening. So, not everyone knows that how to listen well. So we always have to follow some good steps to listen better. So I think eye contact again. We talk about the eye contact. That's very important thing. So maintain eye contact with the speaker. This will demonstrate to the speaker that the listener is paying attention. And always remember that you don't have to interrupt this speaker. Wait until he or she is completely finished, then ask questions. So listening long enough may answer several of the questions without need to ask. So when the time is right to ask, repeat instructions first and then ask appropriate questions. And you need to control your body language as well as much as possible. Sit still while listening. So this implies that the listener is paying full attention to the speaker. Or you can see a nod of the head can be a good, as it implies agreement. And a good listener always knows that being attentive to what the speaker doesn't say is as important as being attentive to what he does say. So look for non-verbal cues such as facial expression and posture to get the full gist of what the speaker is saying. Okay, listening comes first. The first and foremost communication skill that we learn in our lives is nothing but listening. So we came to know that listening is very important in communication skills. We cannot communicate if we cannot listen well. So these are the steps in listening process: listening, speaking, reading, then writing. So if we will talk about anything, first of all, we have to listen. So you can compare it with your lectures, with your daily lecture, with your classrooms. For instance, you need to listen the teacher's lecture. So after listening, we have to speak. You can say feedback, you can give comments, you can ask questions. That would be speaking. Then reading. You will read the lectures or anything, any given thing you need to read. Then writing. Okay, listening is not hearing. So, in last lecture, we discussed this point that listening is and hearing are not same. These are different. So, listening and hearing are not same. Hearing is the first step of listening. Hearing occurs when our ears pick up sound waves, which are then transported to our brain. So, this stage is our sense of hearing. And if we will talk about listening, it's a communication process, and to be successful is an active process. So in other words, we must be an active participant in this communication process. In active listening, meaning an evaluation of a message must take place before a listener can respond to a speaker. So therefore, the listener is actively working while the speaker is talking. How can this happen? It is simple. Our thought speed is much faster than our speed. But be careful. Don't allow the thought speed to race into daydreaming. This habit will defeat our attempt to become an active listener. So, listening and hearing are not same. These are different. You can say hearing is passive and listening is an active process. And listening is something you can, we will say that it's about the understanding about anything. And in hearing, we don't understand. If you follow it about listening, listening is not my problem. Listening and hearing are same. Good readers are good listeners. Smarter people are better listeners. Listening improves with age. Listening skills are difficult to learn. We discussed this in last lecture. So these are the policies about listening, that when we will think that listening is not our problem, and we will think that listening and hearing are the same, and good readers are good listeners. It's not true. This is the same as we have discussed in the last lecture. Okay, then comes objectives of listening. So why we listen? We listen to learn, to increase one's understanding, to advise or counsel, or to relieve one's boredom. So we listen to learn. If we will talk about it, you can say we listen to gain some kind of information. So whenever you listen to learn something, you are engaged in informational listening. And there are many examples of informational listening, such as you can say when you listen to the news, we watch documentary uh, in work meetings, and if someone would tell you any recipe, so this is kind of information you can say. And if we can listen better, it will increase our understanding about anything. If you are a good listener and you are getting any lecture or anything in a better way, so it would increase your understanding about that particular thing. So this is the research finding. 32.7% of their time listening. People are listening 32.7%, and 25.8% of their time speaking, and 22.6% of their time writing. So this is the research findings. You can read it by yourself. Okay, then comes importance of listening. Communication is not complete without effective listening. An active listener stimulates better speaking by the speaker. A good listener learns more than an indifferent listener. A good listener can restructure vague speaking in a way that produces clearer meaning. A good listener learns to detect prejudice, assumptions, and attitudes. Okay, then comes real listening. Real listening has three basic steps: hearing, understanding, and judging. So, first of all, we have to hear, we have to understand, and we have to judge. So, here, here is an example. You need to read it. Active listening process. So, these are the steps for active listening process: hearing, filtering, comprehending, remembering, and responding. Hearing. Hearing is the first essential step in the listening process and relates to the sensory perception of sound. The listener further process perceived sound. For learning to be effective, hearing needs to be done with attentiveness and concentration. So hearing is a psychological process of registering sound waves as they hit the eardrum. So it may seem in order to effectively gather information through listening. So we must first be able to physically hear what we are listening. And then filtering. The next step involves sensing and filtering of heard sound. The heard message is categorized as wanted or unwanted. So the unwanted messages is discarded. The sense of judgment of the individual comes into play. That is, the filtering process is subjective, and a person chooses to retain what makes sense to him. So when you will hear the things, you will just retain those things that will make some sense to you. Otherwise, the other message can be ignored. Comprehending. The listener understands what the speaker has tried to convey. This activity can be described as absorbing, grasping, or assimilating. So the listener uses his knowledge, experience, perception, and cognitive power. Then remembering. So in this process, we store the message in our memory, so it will facilitate in the future. Responding. Responding to a message takes place at the end of the communication, immediately after or later, so to show that the message is being received and comprehended. For instance, you can say a feedback. Responding can be a feedback. For instance, if you are asking questions about after any speech, or you are giving your comments about any lecture or any speech, that would be the response. So these are the tips for being a good listener. Give your full attention. So on the person who is speaking, don't look out the window or at what else is going on in the room. So you need to focus on the speaker, what he is delivering to you guys, and what message he is gonna deliver, or he is delivering to you all. Make sure your mind is focused. It can be easy to let your mind wander if you think you know what the person is going to say next. But you might be wrong. If you feel your mind wandering, change the position or your body and try to concentrate on the speaker's words. For instance, sometimes whenever we listen anything, we listen any speech or a lecture, or if someone presenting any topic, so sometimes we assume or we think that we already know about the topic, we already have more information about the topic. So that can be wrong, because maybe he came up with a new idea. So we need to listen him as well, and we need to listen his remarks about the topic. And still, if our mind is wandering and we are thinking about anything else, so we need to change our position. Let the speaker finish before you begin to talk. Speakers appreciate having the chance to say everything they would like to say without being interrupted. So when you interrupt, it looks like you are not listening, even if you really are. So while listening any speech, if you have any question, you can wait. Let him discuss all the things. Let him tell all the things, all his perception of about his idea. And at the end, when he will ask the questions, or he will ask you guys to now you can ask whatever you want to. Then you are supposed to speak. If you would interrupt anybody while speaking, it would be bad impression. Feedback. So sit up straight and look directly at the speaker now and then. Note to show that you understand. At appropriate points, you may also smile. So these are the ways to let the speaker know that you are really listening. Remember, you listen with your face as well as your ears. So if you will nod or you will give smile, that would be the positive gesture for your speaker. And you need to give gestures to your listener that you are listening his or her speech and you are understanding it as well. So this was all for today's lecture. Please read and listen carefully, and if you have any questions, you may ask in your session. Good luck. Allah Hafiz.